Welcome to Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, Level 2. This lesson is all about loving all aspects of self. So this lesson contains key aspects of understanding unity and the use of unconditional love and compassion as tools for ascension. One of the first things I'm going to do is talk about increasing one's identity to the point of having a galactic identity. So this is a painting that I've shown many times where we show the individual planet and the individual human. And this is all the way back from some of the earlier lessons of the previous level. This is an image of the galaxy. The galaxy here, you're looking at it, if it's, ordinarily it's shaped like it's got arms sticking out like this, and we're looking at it from the top down. Well, what we're looking at over here is the side view, and we're just looking at it edge on. So this is the edge of the galaxy, and this is the galactic bulge in the middle where there's a concentration of more stars. And also in the previous lesson, but I'm refreshing your memory so that you can see we have this beautiful torus shape right here. And that is energy that is not usually visible to the human eye, but that it has been highlighted in this image so that we can perceive it. But that these are energy bubbles or plumes of energy that spread outward from in here. This is the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. And the whirling and swirling motion of the energy there creates these beautiful vortexes of energy, creating the torus shape that we are so familiar with because we are experts in the torus shape now at this point in the class. Okay, so in order to expand to this galactic perspective, first let's start with expanding to the planetary perspective. And in order to do this, what I'm asking you to do is imagine that there is a central person, a central personality or flavor, a set of characteristics that exists, and that all of the experience of life on Earth, not only human, but also animal, plant, mineral, and every type of force, just forces of nature or forces of physics, are all aspects of this main consciousness or central person. And that person, just in the same way that you can have a prism that splits up, I'm choosing white, I hope you can see this, white light gets split up into its different colors going through a prism, right? Well, in the same exact way, that white light of consciousness over here, that central line, gets split up into various emanations. And those various emanations are different people with different personality characteristics, different species with different characteristics, and even, let's say, different forms of life, from biological and organic to non-biological or non-organic or only semi-organic. And in order to give you an idea of what I mean when I would define something as semi-organic, do you remember my teachings about viruses? How viruses do not fit the definition of what is organic life because they cannot reproduce on their own. They require one of your beautiful, lovely cells, and they get inside of the nucleus of your own cell and hijack the processes there in order to reproduce. And same thing with eating. Viruses don't eat. They get inside of your cell and take advantage of the resources that you have gained through eating. However, what I'm saying is, all of this, changing colors here, all of this whole pyramid, everything that is an emanation from this central point. So really, this is central core teaching to being able to raise your energy to the level of the heart and unconditional love. That truly, when you look around you, everything you see is a projection of self. Everything that you see out there is actually emanating from in here. And what's in here is actually emanating from up here. This is the source. This is source consciousness. It is unity. It is one beautiful, gigantic meta or overarching consciousness from which all of these other aspects of light are refracted in exactly the same way that a prism refracts or bends light into its constituent elements from the main element of white light. So this is an important teaching for embodying and living unconditional love, because when you meet someone during the day, and if you have an issue like a conflict with someone, and you have to understand that that person, first of all, they are an aspect of your own self. And I'm talking right now about an embodied human being whom you might have a conflict of interest or some form of friction in dealing with them, that this externalized being is actually reflecting to you or being the exemplar to you of one of your own inner aspects. And that is the reason why you, through your life circumstances, have been put in contact with them and are having the conflict and have to deal with them. Because the way to solve these conflicts is to love this being over here that you are having the conflict with. So in order to love that, and first of all, love is like the universal solvent. People say, oh, water is the universal solvent. Love is the universal solvent. Love is what resolves this balance, this tension, this balance of forces between this, individual over here and this individual over here. That we're literally, when you are having a friction with someone, you are having energy, your energy is moving at a different rate than their energy. So, okay, to use an example, we have a person over here. Let's say that you're having a conflict with them. Let's say that they have done or said something that is lower vibration. And I'm going to represent that with this red colored wave, because red is one of the lower vibration things. So and that made you also feel some lower vibration emotions. And what it is necessary to do in order to resolve all of this, in order to resolve that experience, is you refine it. You bring it up to the higher levels. So the first thing that you do is you recognize, wait, this person over here is an externalized aspect of self. They contain or exhibit a quality, in this case, this red vibration, something that they said or did that felt bad to me when it reflected back to me. It gave me this vibration here. Now, you don't actually have to analyze it. You can if you want to, but it's very laborious and sometimes painful and tedious. At this point in earthly development and earthly energetic development, it is no longer necessary for you to tediously comb through the aspect of so-and-so hurt my feelings, this is what they said, this is why they said it, this is why, because it's a lifetime of dirty laundry to go through. You don't have to waste your time. Time is short. We've already gone through the singularity on December 21st, 2012, and we are now in the point of total creation. So you don't want to have to spend all of your beautiful time that you have in the universe for creating in doing your dirty laundry, essentially cleaning up old karmic things. So all you need to know about in this sense is that this is an externalized aspect of self, because that's what we know to be true from this model right here, that everyone on Earth, every individual human, every individual plant and animal, all of the different species, including viruses and bacteria, are all emanations of this beautiful white light, the source consciousness. And when you meet and interact with an aspect of self, you are doing so for the mutual upliftment of both parties. That you are going to learn and they are going to learn, and that this is going to help to refine energy and resolve tension. Because it, as I was speaking before, it's that push-pull of tension of these two seemingly opposite forces, that duality, that keeps us stuck in a negative dance, a negative behavioral pattern dance with these partners. And so the way to resolve that issue and the way to resolve that negative duality is to literally love the other person. When you look at them with the correct viewpoint and you are able to create that tone of non-judgment where you literally send that being love, and you can see I am like trying to draw, wrapping that being in a cone of loving energy. And you say, I see that you are an aspect of my own internal self. I see that you have been placed in my path so that we can learn, I can learn from you and we can learn from each other. I see that I do not appreciate this behavior or speech or energy that is negative, and I see that it bothers me because that is resonating with something inside of me, and that the way to resolve it is to resolve what is inside of me. I heal what is inside of me. I also love and accept. I'm sending love energy now to those lower vibration aspects inside of me and sending it up. So one thing, an example would be if you said, oh, this other person over here, they were so annoying to me because they really love guns. I'm going to draw a little gun here because a lot of what we're talking about has to do with violence. Oh, they enjoy watching violent movies, they own a gun, they think that going to war is really great, and that's really different than me. So you can see that's that negative behavior pattern here. But it is bothering you. In some way, you fell into conflict with this person because you have within your own genetic code, within your own social programming, within your own personality profile, the same capacity to be violent. However, you are not following those behavior patterns. You're choosing not to own a gun. You're choosing not to use war or violence as a form of effective or whatever, moderately effective short-term foreign policy. In order to resolve this dramatic tension, that push-pull duality, if you said, you're nothing like me, I'm nothing like you, you're violent, I don't have that inside of me, and we're totally different, we're two totally different even species. Well, what that would be doing is not loving this aspect within you. It is loving to say, that person resonated on that frequency. It bothered me. It bothered me because I have this as a genetic tendency, and I am choosing to work against that genetic tendency. I am choosing to go against the inner violence and to mitigate it with higher consciousness and say, no, violence is not the answer. And so what you really need to do is to love those aspects within yourself, to say, okay, I understand that those are lesser emanations of who I am, that the me who would embrace violence, here's a gun over here, the me who would choose to own a gun and pick it up and shoot someone in order to solve a conflict is not the true me. If I were to draw our familiar time vortex over here, we would say here is, I keep using green as a central color just so you can see it better than white. Here's the central you, and then maybe here's a very far peripheral self that chose to own a gun. It's not really your core self. It's not really in line with the divine, Christ-like energies of nonviolence and forgiveness, and also understanding that, if you're really living the truth that you and you are two aspects of the same self and the same consciousness, why would you ever want to shoot this person? Why would this person ever want to shoot anybody? It would be like shooting yourself. Well, the answer is that some people are self-destructive. Some people do shoot and hurt themselves. Some people, I'm now turning this gun around to themselves. Some people shoot themselves with addiction, with addiction to substances or eating junk food or staying in a horrible relationship or maintaining a very unworthy career, living in an unworthy career state. And some people are physically harmful to themselves in terms of, self-mutilation. And some people do kill themselves with suicide. So the whole point is those are clearly outliers. Those are these aspects of self over here, not this central core self over here. And the way to resolve all of this is through love, okay? Love means I accept negative lower aspects of self. Like, I'm talking to you as Aurora, and I have already described myself as one who has mastered my mind, and I have mastered my emanations, and I will tell you that I recognize the inner aspects within me to be violent. I recognize those, and I love them. When they come up, I say to them, I recognize that you violent vibration there, are a beautiful, effective survival strategy that worked a long time ago, but that is not relevant and appropriate in this time and place, because now we not only have emotions on top of survival, we not only have intellect on top of survival, I have unconditional love on top of survival. That's who I really am. That is my true vibration. I am not merely living at the level of survival where I'm going to kill or be killed and do what I need to do in order to survive. That is the lowest level of consciousness, and I am coming from a much higher perspective. So I also understand when I look at this person over here with the gun, they're like a child in the one-room schoolhouse of the universe. They're like a little kindergartner. They're not even a kindergartner. They might still be pooping their pants, because if you have a gun, I mean, this is not meant to be offensive, but I'm just telling you, in terms of development, evolution, and ascension, if you still own a gun and you think that shooting people is an effective way to live and navigate in the world, you're a tiny, undeveloped child compared to other aspect of consciousness. And what do you do with the child when a child is going to act poorly? Like, no, you don't allow them to act poorly. You set appropriate boundaries. You're like, no, put that down. You're not allowed to hurt other people. But of course, I just stepped into a little bit of a thicket there, because unconditional love says, well, I allow you to have your own make your own choices in life. So, you're at that level of development where owning a gun means you feel safe and comfortable, even though to me it is antithetical to that, because you know that if you own a gun, you are just magnetizing to you an opportunity to use it. Anytime you own anything, if you own a party dress, it means you're magnetizing to you an opportunity to go to a party. If you own a gun, it means that you are embracing that aspect of self that says, I would shoot someone, I would shoot if I had to, I would use this. That's your own particular choice, and I allow you to make your own choices in life. However, I do not allow you to make your choices all over me. And that is the choice of unconditional love, where what I'm really doing is I'm breaking the tension here. I'm not saying you're bad, you're wrong, you're not allowed to have that gun. This is this dynamic state of tension. If I said, you're bad, you're not allowed to have that, I want to control your behavior. I do not control your behavior. The way that I solve this is I control my own behavior. I love those aspects of self. Say, I recognize that was an effective behavior tool, like maybe tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago in terms of development, but that now we are living in a different time, and I choose to act differently. What this does is it creates kind of two different realms. There's this realm over here where this person interacts with other people who would use guns and would use violence, and they live in that realm. And this person lives in this realm over here where essentially they do not associate with people who own guns, use guns, or believe that war and guns are an effective foreign policy. And you can see that you start to create two separate cultures, two separate experiences of the world. And of course, at a certain point, this person over here has life experiences that cause them to be refined in their own time cone. They have their own life experiences in the video game of life, and they begin to align more and more with this central core self and core possibility and core values, and they move away from violence, and then they eventually might even join the vibration of this person's realm. Okay, well, I can already tell this is going to be a two-part lesson because I have so much more to get into. Because now I'm going to refer back to lesson 18 of the previous level, where I spoke about two divergent aspects in people's DNA, where you had the, what we would call, higher vibrational aspects of DNA, and then the lower vibrational aspects of DNA, that these were two separate origins of consciousness that came from our galactic heritage. Where did earthly life come from? Questions were answered, and the answer is that earthly life came from a variety of different stellar consciousnesses, okay? So in exactly the same way that all humans are these divergent or refracted aspects of self, it's the same exact thing on a galactic level. All of these different star consciousnesses. Here's one civilization here, here's one civilization here, here's one star civilization over here, here's one over here. They have various different personality characteristics, just like you over here as an individual have individual personality characteristics. This is coming from a place of non-judgment. There's no right and wrong. There are simply different characteristics that exist, some of which are appropriate for some contexts. I've been using red down here in order to highlight the level of the red chakra, which is pure survival, kill or be killed. And I used red for that same purpose, showing that part of the genetic lineage that is within humanity. There are different aspects of self. So now let's say this over here. Let's say this is the red star people, that they come from a very harsh world where it is necessary to either kill or be killed, and only the strong survive. And that if you had a more soft and accommodating physiology, personality, and behavior and energy and approach to life, you wouldn't even exist. In order for life to exist, imagine like a totally rocky and harsh world where, there aren't very many resources and people have to, that whole mentality. Or imagine even the type of physical body that would be grown in order to deal with a very harsh climate or limited physical resources. We're talking about like analogous to the type of spiders that live on the heat vents at the bottom of the ocean where it's spewing magma, these underwater exo creatures that are they are called extremophiles. They live in extreme environments, or even, incredibly cold areas underneath frozen ice in Antarctica. There still are organisms which exist, okay? Think about that. In order to live in a frozen, world like that, you have to have very strong personality characteristics. Just the fight for survival is very important. So do you understand? This is a noble personality characteristic. However, let's contrast that with a different personality characteristic. This one over here, green. Let's say that these beings are much more loving and accommodating. They're much more soft. They're much more trusting. They are more emotionally perceptive because, these red beings over here, they don't care about emotions. They're trying to live on like frozen tundra or eat sulfur to survive. They don't live in like a nice, warm, happy world. These beings over here exist in an abundant world where pleasure matters. And they also are more perceptive because they can take the time and energy to tune into more subtle vibrations, something such as art or music or intellectualism, because they are beyond the mere fight for survival, okay? But if you took some of these lovely green creatures and you transported them into a world that was harsh and totally unforgiving, it would just crush these gentle, spirited creatures. So there are different personality characteristics that are appropriate for different contexts. All right? And when you live the level of unconditional love over here, keep pointing to that heart, when you live this beautiful level of acceptance, that is what you do. It's like when you look at a poisonous plant, you don't say, poisonous plant, you are bad, like, I judge you, like, thumbs down, you're not good, because it serves its purpose in the larger purpose. The poisonous plant is absolutely appropriate, or a thorny plant, like, oh, you're a mean thorny plant, you're stinging me. No, that mean thorny plant exists as part of the larger context, and it is very appropriate for it to act in that way, and it might use those thorns in order to survive. So right now, what I'm just giving you is the galactic perspective, because you also have to understand then that each one of these different star cultures, that I've highlighted in a different culture, all right, they each had an influence on what is currently known as humanity or earthlings, on these lovely people that live down here on Earth right now, that your own genes have a blend of all of these different colors. Let's add in some green also, just to say we have 3 basic star cultures, even though I will tell you that there are many, many more than just 3 star cultures that have had influence on the human genetic code. This goes back to lesson 18. If you want to refresh your memory, you can go back there. As we are achieving the galactic perspective, what we understand is that in exactly the same way that all of these shards of consciousness are refractions through the prism of the chakras, the prism of the chakras of your body, of the white light of consciousness, we also now understand that this whole galaxy is the refraction of this white light of consciousness, that we have this central core consciousness here at the center of the galaxy. It is emanated by the supermassive black hole that is holding everything together at the center of this galaxy, that is source, that is infinity. Here, let me draw it this way because you can see the beautiful infinity sign that we get over here around this beautiful torus. That's infinity. And each one of these little tiny subcultures or subsets is a refracted shard of infinity. And they each have their own place, they each have their own context, they each have their own agenda. And much like this person down here, we're in the one-room schoolhouse of the universe. One-room schoolhouse means this is like from the olden days. You didn't have different classes, you didn't have different levels. Kindergarten through high school all sat in the same classroom. That's our galaxy. This is kindergarten through graduate school, are all in the same classroom. And each one of these aspects of consciousness is interacting with itself in order to grow and be refined on its journey of consciousness. So this is basic cosmology and also teaching of unconditional love. You will find similar teachings in many different spiritual and religious traditions, such as the law of one, or teachings about unity, where we really recognize that, something, when you look outside of yourself, all of this is me. All of this is me. And then if I really understand that, when I look at this person over here who has a gun and who annoys me, I don't want to kill that person. First of all, I recognize that's trying to kill an aspect of my own self. And I don't want to kill myself. But what I do want to do is love that person. I want to subject them to this healing vibration of love that helps them to grow and change, so that then they no longer feel the need to have a gun in order to be safe and happy, that they instead find the network of social interaction with other loving beings, that is the way to be safe and happy. Surrounding yourself with good, loving people who will share resources with you is a much more effective way to be safe and secure than to arm yourself with a weapon and be prepared to fight over the last can of beans in existence. I would really like to just pause this teaching because, as I said, I know that it's going to be a longer lesson than just half an hour. So pause where we are in this conversation, and I will return in part 2. Thank you very much.